Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing tonight? Welcome to Behind the Crime Door. For those that are new to my channel, I'm Kristen, and I am very happy to have you all here with me this evening. We have a lot to go over. There is a lot happening in the Delphi case, and a lot that we should be talking about. So I'm really glad that you guys decided to join me. I know that there's a lot of lives going on tonight, so I appreciate you all being here. I know that it's really hard when a lot of your favorite channels are live at the same time. So again, thank you so much for your loyalty and for being here. Thank you to my moderators for showing up tonight. You guys are the best. I have the absolute best moderators. So loyal. They do this for me out of the goodness of their hearts, and I can't say enough about them. So thank you, Maria, Michelle, and Jennifer, and John for being here. You guys are just the best. I think Tech Death will probably be here later, and I'm sure that we will see a couple of my other moderators as well. Thank you for all my subscribers, for all the members that are in the audience tonight and listening. And thank you for all those of you who listen on replay, because that's just as good as being here in the live. So thank you so much. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe and the like button and share my video, and also hit the bell so that when I go live next time, you guys will get notification of it. So how is everyone doing? I'm probably not going to go through and say hello to each and every one of you tonight, because there's just so much to talk about. And I kind of want to just get right into it a little bit. And I know that everybody is just anxious. I know the Murder Sheet just put out dropped a podcast a little while ago, and people are running all around with that one, and the information that was in there. So I just kind of wanted to go over that. Digital, you are so sweet. Thank you so very much. And I just kind of feel like it's important to talk about quite a few things. I've been working on this live since really late Tuesday night. After the last live, I started making notes about things that I wanted to talk about on this one. And it just seems like there's just so much information out there happening behind the scenes. There's lots of rumors going around, as we all well know. There's plenty of those, plethora of them, actually. And there's a lot of stuff, as I've said before, that's being released. We got to be careful in how we deal with all of that information and how we report it. And just be careful. We want to make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to hurt this case. It's moving forward. I can guarantee you it is absolutely moving forward. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that things are happening, and we're going to see something soon. It's just how I feel. Again, you know, we are here to learn. We're here to try to understand and make some sense out of all the stuff that's going around out there on social media. And hopefully tonight I can bring some of clarity to some of that that's out there. I also want to talk about a couple of other things. One of the things I want to talk about right off the bat is I want to deal with we were talking the other night a lot about Ron Logan, and about Ron Logan possibly being a suspect in the FBI's sites, which we really know it was true. It really wasn't possibly, it was true based upon the affidavit for his warrant. And so we really, really, really need to kind of look at that. And I've thrown out a couple of ideas of what I thought might be going on with Ron Logan. And I did tell you guys the other night that I thought it was quite possible that he stumbled upon that crime scene, and that it scared him. And that's what led him to all the things. I do think that's possible. I've thought that for a very long time. But I read something today that someone else said that I never really thought of. So, what if Ron Logan was a witness and they didn't believe him because they were looking at him as a suspect? Hey, Tech Death, how are you, my dear? I think that that is something to consider in all of this. And I think that that could very well be something that he was a witness, and they brushed him off. They blew him off because they really thought he was a suspect. And maybe it wasn't until later on down the road that they realized that, wow, maybe we have something here. So I'm just throwing that out because I saw someone else say it and I thought, you know what? I hadn't even thought of that. So again, you can see why it's really, really important that we all sit back and we take in this information and we kind of look at it all, because there's so many possibilities that's going on here. So anyway, you know, it's just one of those, somebody saw something, and we know that there was definitely information given over time to law enforcement, because, hang on a second, I want to look at some of my notes. Give me a minute here to try to get my mouse to follow me. It's been really funny today. What am I looking for here? No. I want you to come back this way. So let's see. I want to bring us back to July 17th of 2017. There was a news article that came out by wishtv.com, Channel 8. And they wrote an article, and in it, Abby's mom, Anna, said that they were one step closer. Maybe today is the day. And Indiana State Police Sergeant Kim Riley said multiple witnesses saw someone matching the original suspect photo, a grainy image found on Liberty's phone after she died. Those witnesses helped police create the sketch. She should be here. She's supposed to be here, Anna said with tears running down her face. We're supposed to be ready getting ready for her freshman year of high school. And the police at that time said that the suspect was between 5'6" and 5'10". He's between 180 and 220 pounds. And witnesses had told police he has reddish brown hair. Detectives don't know who he is or where he is, but Anna believes that police will find him. We just hope that people keep that same confidence that we have, that police know what they're doing. And this is that piece of the puzzle we've been looking for, she said. Does the guy still go out there? Does he wander around? Anna asked. You wonder about that, and I think a lot of folks do. The suspect sketch is the latest clue police have released since they shared their original suspect photo and an audio recording of a man saying down the hill. Police said the audio and image both come from a video that Liberty took with her phone before she died. Hundreds of thousands of people have shared the evidence online. Anna's hoping for the same enthusiasm with new evidence. Police said the 6 hours after they released that sketch, more than 150 phoned in or emailed tips. So, one of the things that I thought about when I was looking at that was the fact that multiple witnesses, we have argued and people have been in so many different camps on witnesses in this case. And I think we need to listen to early reports. And this was in July of 2017 that Kim Riley, the information officer for ISP, was telling us that they had multiple witnesses. And I don't think that that necessarily means just witnesses that were at the trail that day. We have to remember it doesn't necessarily mean that they were actually on the trails. These could be people who were driving and saw something. These could be people who were walking and saw something. I mean, it could be anything. They didn't say we have multiple witnesses that were there that day. They don't tell us that. They just say they have multiple witnesses. So I really think that that's important. Oh, hang on. On June, let's see, sorry. Holman, let me get this link up. Jerry Holman said, this was an interview with him back in August, on August 14th of 2017. And it was an interview with Fox 59. And this was the question. So tell me, obviously you guys, you see these, what's posted all over online. People want to know. You have all this evidence in this case, and still 6 months later, no suspect in custody. What would your answer be to the community? And Jerry Holman's response was, well, it's not like on television. You know, you see on CSI shows that they solve them in 2 commercial breaks. So it takes a lot of time, and we want to be very thorough. So we want to take our time and make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. But this is a tough case. This is a tough case. I think there's alleged a lot of evidence, but really, we have very little evidence in this case. So we are working with what we have. We're getting a ton of tips, which helps, but some of those tips are misleading. and kind of leads and disarray and gets us unfocused. State, federal, and local agencies, all the resources that are available, and continue to do their work because we're still getting information. So we're going to continue to work as hard as we can on this. To have what little evidence, which we're not at all detectives, and all this audio and video and maybe this reward money, is that more than people usually have in a case like this? Jerry Holman's response: yeah, I think so. I think we have more than enough to make a case, but we're just not getting that break yet. We're still getting closer every day. We're getting a lot of tips on people that didn't do it, and we eliminate those daily. And so, like I've said before, it's a needle in a haystack. And we get those tips in, so and so, and we eliminate him by however we do that. And that just takes another piece of the hay out of the way. So we can start focusing, and eventually it's gonna be there. So we keep working. And I think a lot of people are misled by some of the Facebook postings and social media, and that is not as helpful as some people might think. Question: so 6 months ago, you got the phone call, and I know we talked about this before. Who called you and said that Abby Williams and Liberty German were missing? I think I got the phone call. Actually, I think I heard it on the radio, and then I called the sheriff to see if they needed assistance, and he said, yeah, we're probably going to need some help. That was when they were missing. And then, of course, we got our helicopter involved, and we're still in the search phase. And then, obviously, once we located them, it was a double homicide. And then we called in other resources throughout the state police and then the FBI. And I know we've had just a ton of resources and people volunteering to help, which is good. So that's how that started, and now here we are. We're still working. We're still motivated. A lot of people, it is stressful. It is a very stressful case, obviously. And it's very easy to get emotionally tied. I think everybody involved is still doing well, and we're still motivated. We're still optimistic that we're going to catch this person that's responsible for this. And we're not letting up or giving in or anything like that. We are stronger than ever, and we're actually getting more people involved. So time's coming, and we're getting closer every day. And I know that cliche, but we are. And we are eliminating people, and we're working harder than ever. So within the first 48 hours in a case, here you are, and you hear it on the radio, and you step in, which thank God, really, that you guys stepped in so quickly, because look how it ended up happening. First comes out 2 missing girls. You think 2 missing girls in a small town like Delphi. Who would have ever thought that this was going to be the case? But what was the investigative work that happened in the first 48 hours without obviously going into too much of detail to put the case in jeopardy? Well, I think you consider and secure the scene. You start doing area canvases, talking to everybody in the area. We have the crime scene investigators there, just basic steps that you would do, collecting videos throughout the areas, doing things like that from ground zero. That's what you would do in any case. You would start, we call that an area canvas, because it's a rural area. We had to kind of stretch that out a little bit. So we did maybe a general area canvas initially, and then maybe a day or two later, we spread that out. Come back, make sure, because it was February, so there was still people on vacation, or winter snowbirds, they call them. And so there was still some houses that we didn't get to make contact with right away because the people weren't there. But we have now. So, I mean, we continue to do that. And now 6 months later, we're still getting in new tips on people. So we're following up on those. But we also have a group of detectives that are assigned to go back and make sure that we didn't miss anything, review things. And so we're taking it very seriously. And we're not, well, I think your biggest fear when you're doing an investigation is that something might slip through the cracks. And we're not going to let that happen. We've got a team of people that keep going back and reviewing, and we're getting there. Like I said, we are working harder than ever, and we're going to continue to work hard. This interview is absolutely important. There is so much in this interview that Jerry Holman tells us at this time. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Hold on one second. And then I'm going to leave I'll put it in the description box down below. So if you guys want to check it out, you can. Hold on one second. I got to make sure. I'll put it in the description box so that if you guys want to go read the transcript of Jerry Holman's interview from August of 2017, oftentimes you hear it referred to as the lost Jerry Holman interview. Hey, Steve, how are you? Hey, Mrs. Steve, good to see you. Hey, Danger Dave. Hi, guys. So good to have you all here. Tech Death, I saw you sneak in. So good to have you guys here. So I did want to bring that up. I did want to talk about that because I thought that is really, really important. So we've got a couple of things. Let's just get it out of the way. So the murder sheet has dropped this new show. And I will admit right off the bat, I have not listened to it. I have not had time. My phone has literally been blowing up for the last 5 hours about a lot of different things. So I apologize that I have not had a chance to listen. But one of my wonderful, wonderful moderators was good enough to give me the synopsis of what happened on it. So I'm well aware. Welcome to all the new faces coming into Behind the Crime Door. You are so welcome here, and I'm so glad you're here. So let me first say this. I'm really getting tired of the murder sheet dropping things they shouldn't. And I'm going to say that. I hope they're watching. I hope to God they are watching, because what you're doing is malpractice to this case in every aspect. Hey, Perry, I am so angry about it. I had to get my composure before I came on because I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs when I found out what they were talking about. The murder sheet thinks that this is some kind of a game, and they want to be firsty with information. And I want to just tell you guys, the murder sheet are not the only people that know this information that they are dropping. There are other people who know, and they're not saying a word. They're not talking about it. And it's pathetic for somebody who says that they are professionals and they should know better. You don't put that stuff out in an open investigation. You just don't. And I hope law enforcement comes down on them with the heaviest hand that they have. I mean it. I hope They do, because it is absolutely ridiculous. They are growing their business off of the backs of Libby and Abby. And that's the way I feel right now. It is only to get more subscribers to their podcast and viewers to their YouTube channel. It's ridiculous. So anyway, what am I going to say? Now that I'm, right now I'm just like, hey Gonzo, how are you? Sorry guys. I hate to be so passionate, but I am. And I am just really, really, really not feeling it for them. All of that. I mean, and as Gonzo said, it is absolutely imperative to keep things tight right now. We have to absolutely not talk about everything we know, no matter how bad people want to know the information. We do not want to screw this up. And it's just, you watch. I'll guarantee you that they'll be on Good Morning America or some national show being interviewed about how they broke this case. They may break this case, but it isn't in the way that they're going to think they're breaking it, in my opinion. It's just, yeah, Danger Dave, I so agree. I absolutely so agree. It is just pathetic. I don't know how they go to sleep at night and look at themselves in the mirror. If these were their two children and somebody was doing this to their case, they would lose their freaking minds. So it's because Jennifer, Dateline hasn't released anything like this about the Delphi case. It's very different. The things that they're releasing can hurt this case. That's why. It's absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. And just because people want to be in the know, you don't have to be in the know. You're not privileged to be in the know. You're not law enforcement. Right now, they're the only ones that need to know this really, really important information. And it's just, they keep this up and they keep going down this path. And this case is going to be harder than heck to prove in a court of law. It's that simple. So, I look at it as, I know that like I said, there's a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but I know 4 right off the bat that have a lot of the same information and probably more than the murder sheet has. And those people are zipped tight. Zipped. They're not talking about what they know. They're not putting that information out on social media. They're not doing podcasts every night about it. They're not talking about it. And you want to know why? Because these people realize how important the integrity of this case is and how it is so important to keep certain things out of the public. There is a double murderer walking around, quite possibly. I'm going to say it again. There is a double murderer walking around, quite possibly. You don't let the person you're trying to catch, you just don't let that person know what the heck you're doing and what you know. So I'm here to tell you this. There's a lot of reasons. If they took Kagan to Grissom, which is an Air Force Reserve base that is 10 miles south of Peru, and a little bit north of Kokomo. If they took him there, this is federal, ladies and gentlemen. So your questions about whether or not the FBI is involved, yes, they are. Nobody gets to go to take a prisoner and go to an Air Force base on the whim. They just don't. It's a federal land, it's federal, and they would need that. So if your questions on whether or not the FBI is involved, you can stop asking yourself that. And when you have people out there, like I said, having this kind of feeling like, I don't know, I think that Gonzo said it just a bit ago about about egos. And I certainly believe that. And it's sad. It's truly sad. And I'm glad that the feds are involved. I definitely am glad about that. So very glad. And I have my own opinions about why he was taken there. So, but it's just stuff like that doesn't need to be released. They just don't, that stuff is not important, that we need to be releasing it and talking about it. That's how I feel. It's just crazy. Ethics is so important in anything that we do. It doesn't matter what it is, but being ethical. So, like I said, we as hosts of shows, you have to have some, you have to have some integrity, and at some point you have to say, what the heck am I doing? And who said that? Mary. God forbid that this second person or whoever may be involved in this crime would run or kill themselves because of what's being put out there. But people don't stop and think about that. What the heck would happen if something happened? What if a person who is incarcerated, what if something happens to that person? Can you say Jeffrey Epstein, people? Has anybody thought about that? Because that's very real. It happens, and it can happen. They don't care because they're not thinking clearly, obviously. I just can't get over it. It's just, to me, it's just crazy. But anyway, so yeah, from what I understand, that's what they talked about. And it's really interesting how some people have it and some people don't when it comes to that, to the integrity and the wanting to make sure that everything gets done right and properly so that justice can be served for Abby and Libby and these families. I mean, you just don't tell everything you know. I found a something from Reddit about 10 months ago. It was written, and I really want to talk about it. Thank you. Thank you, Perry. Thank you, Perry. I know that I seem like this really meek, mild, kind woman, whatever, and I am kind. But when I get riled up, I get riled up. And this has really bothered me. It's been bothering me, as you guys know, for a while. And now it's really bothering me. So, Bridge guy becoming unalive is the least of my fears. Harming innocents, shootout with law enforcement, destruction of evidence, trophies is my concern. I'm not, Steve, I agree with you on that, but all I'm saying is that I'm not talking about necessarily Bridge guy for sure, but I'm talking about being able to prosecute this case if there are multiple people involved and these people are being tipped off to what law enforcement is doing and what they know. And again, you're right. They could harm themselves or harm others. They could do all kinds of things. Definitely the destruction of evidence and all kinds of things that they could be doing. And it's these kinds of things that could happen, which is exactly why the murder sheet should stop doing what they're doing. And they've been told. That's the sad thing. They have been told to not release this stuff, and they're still doing it. And that's what's so sad. It's different than when you don't know what the heck you're doing. But again, they're supposed to be professional, right? So, it's it bothers me. It bothers me about the witnesses, whoever it is that is speaking, whoever it is that is coming forward and giving the information to law enforcement that's led to the search, that's led to all of these things happening. Those people are in danger every single time somebody opens their mouth about what may or may not have been said from these people. And they need to stop it. The murder sheet, Deb Lyons, the murder sheet they're a podcast. They're not YouTubers. They're a podcast. And anywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, if you just go on Google and type in the murder sheet, their podcast will pop up. And all you have to do is click on it and listen to it. That they release a podcast every week. I just gave them a plug. Anyway, so let's see. I want the justice for the girls. I want the justice for the girls. I want the justice for the families. And I want to see this case come to a close. And I want it to come to a close in a positive way. Jennifer, thank you so much for your super. Is it a super? Did you super sticker or super chat, honey? I'm sorry. Super sticker. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Michelle, thank you so much for your super sticker. I appreciate you guys so much. But yeah, I mean, so the other things that I want to say is there is a rumor. There is a rumor right out there now, and I don't know if people are talking about it or not, but I'm going to talk about it. And the rumor is from locals that there's going to be a press conference tomorrow. That's the rumor. Don't know if it's true. Have no way to corroborate that, but the rumor is from locals, not on social media. It's not out there. It's from the locals that there's supposed to be a press conference tomorrow. Now, I don't know. I would think that law enforcement would announce a press conference. Danger Dave, you be safe out there, and we'll be here when you get back, okay? And it will be interesting to see what happens at this press conference. Because you know as well as I do that law enforcement is all over what's going on YouTube and Reddit and Facebook. They know that we're talking about this. They know that for the last 5 weeks, we've been going crazy about what might be happening in the Wabash River, and everybody's following this. And so it's really, truly interesting, as I said before, if that's true, that they're going to come forward tomorrow and tell us something. I hope to God it's good. It's good news. I really, really hope it is. They have not been in the river for 2 days. There has been no one out there. Famously Unfamous was out there yesterday and did a video documenting underneath the bridge on both sides. He showed that on Sunny Justice's channel last night. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you tune in to Sunny from last night, because she showed that video, and it was really interesting because he walks right down under the bridge and shows you where they've been digging, where they we're taking big, huge chunks of dirt and digging stuff out of the ground. They were wood chipping all of the trees down and stuff that they were taking down, and they were using a wood chipper to get rid of it. I mean, they were trying to get down to the bare ground as much as they possibly could on the ground underneath that bridge. And he did a really, really good job. I have a lot of respect for him to go out there and do that and show us that so well. I really appreciate him so much. I did send him an email and thanked him for everything. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you? So good to see you. So, I mean, we all know what the heck they're possibly looking for, and we all know what it is that they may have found. We can all surmise that, because there's only probably a few things that make sense, right? And if they did find the evidence they were looking for, we need to realize that forensics takes a while, and we may not have the answers for a while. The forensics may take some time. So, they've spent a long time out there. There was a lot of red flags in the river. But yeah, forensics is going to take a while, and especially if it's something electronic, that is going to take a while. That's not something that they're just going to be able to snap their fingers and have it be all done and over with. So we need to be prepared for that. So I do think that it's out there. There's the rumor, Doug Carter was on the helicopter. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I would think that he would want to be involved in what was happening at that site and want to see what was going on with the search. People have surmised and talked about the possibility of evidence being picked up that day and taken. Makes complete sense to me, especially where they landed. When they landed in the farmer's field, that is huge to me. And yeah, I mean, if they did find something, they're going to want to have the chain of custody be locked solid tight. So, you know, forensic team could have come with him. Who knows? And oh yeah, John, this is Delphi related. Don't let anybody talk you out of that. Don't let the people that don't want the narrative to be this, don't let anybody talk you out of that. This is regarding Delphi. So anyway, I also think that what else was I say about what they had released? We were going to talk about that. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. I have a hair appointment tomorrow and I'm not really excited about it, but because I'm like, I don't want to be away from my electronics too long, even though I'll have my phone. I'm just like, I really want to be where I can be here if something does blow up tomorrow. It'll be really interesting. I'm trying to remain hopeful and keep a positive attitude about it, because again, as I said before, it's better to do that. Hey, Derek, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you? Great info, and you're on point with your standards and practices. Thank you. Great show to deliver tonight. Thank you so much, Derek. I appreciate you so much. You're going to have to come on my show. You're going to have to come on and be up here with me one of these nights. I hope. Thanks for your donation. I appreciate it very, very much. It's interesting, Frank. I feel kind of the same way. I feel like I need to not even go to sleep because I don't even know if I'll be able to. Thank you. Great. I would love to have you on. For sure. Chain of custody, double rainbows is very, very important with any kind of evidence. You have to maintain the chain of custody so that there's no questions that the evidence was tampered with or that the evidence was in some way manipulated. So that's where the chain of custody comes in. And when you have a location and you need, like this, it's outdoors, and you need to make sure that whatever's being collected makes it back to the lab intact and all of that. Yes, it's very, very, very important. So I don't know if you guys saw, but who was it? Oh, the Inquisitor. Did you guys happen to see the Inquisitor dropped the I posted it on my community page a couple of days ago, but he dropped the video about in 2013, Kagan Klein wrote Facebook posts about going out and shooting his 380, his handgun. And then the Inquisitor posted that, but also posted the article that in 2019, they found a loaded gun in Peru in the Wabash. And it was a 380. And in the article, They said that the gun had not been used in any crimes that they were aware of, but they didn't talk about the owner either. And I don't know in Indiana, I'm assuming, but I could be wrong, it's Indiana, that you'd have to register your firearms. Do you or don't you? Does somebody know if you have to register them in Indiana? Because my question was, wouldn't they be able to track that gun to an owner? Well, they said that if they didn't have anything with it for 6 months, that they could dispose of it. I hope to God they didn't dispose of that weapon. I really hope not. I mean, so you do not have to register your guns. So there you go. That's another reason right there that you should have to, so that you can track them if they're used in a crime and who owns them. It's hard to place a gun in somebody's hand if you don't have ownership. So anyway, just interesting. Thanks, guys, for the information. I so appreciate you. Thanks, Frank. I thought you were in Indiana. I thought you were. So it's really interesting to me that that was talked about, and they said that the gun looked like it had been there for a while. I don't know what a while is, but I mean, even if it had been thrown in there in 2017, that's a while because they didn't find it for 2 more years. But yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So thank you, Margaret. Well, thank you. How kind of you. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you. I try to put forth information. So thanks, Lola, for looking it up for me. Thank you so much. Hey, Louisa, good to have you here. So anyway, I think it'll be a lot of information that will be forthcoming soon, and I'm anxious for it. I think we all are. So what I started to tell you guys was about this this thing that I found on Reddit that had been written about a year ago, a little less. And I thought that it was important to talk about it because it really made me think about some things. But I wanted to read something to you first from Alice in Wonderland. Alice laughed. "There's no use trying," she said. "One can't believe impossible things." "I dare say you haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." And that's from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. Oh, John, yes. Thank you for your super chat. Let tomorrow be the day. We are all ready to say that. I so want tomorrow to be the day, you guys. I am so ready for tomorrow to be the day. So imagine that you have just recently stumbled into the true crime community, and maybe you caught a YouTube video that was suggested by whatever algorithm YouTube uses to decide what you might like to see. And imagine that you stumbled onto the Delphi case and from there wandered into the Delphi discussion on these subreddits or on YouTube. Imagine the very first question you ask this community is, hey, why did they wait 2 years to release a sketch that they had 4 days after the murders? Isn't that something they should have done right away? Is there a reason they didn't? How would this community on YouTube, the Delphi community especially, respond to that question, you guys? How do you think they would respond? Questions like that start wars in the Delphi community. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? And isn't it also incredible that these 3 questions, you have practically solved the case? With these 3 questions? Incredible, isn't it? A true crime new person could stumble into this case, catch the 2019 press conference, and a couple other things, and pretty much solve the case with 3 questions. There are people in this community who actually boast that they've been following the case from day one, almost 6 years now. Some of them have made YouTube careers on this basis. The lifers have been following the case from day one, and they haven't figured out that the key to this case is connected to the reason it took years to release the young bridge guy sketch. Have you never asked yourself these questions at any point in time? Imagine the basis for your claim to credibility on a subject as that you've been doing that subject wrong for 5 to 6 years. You, the new person who just stumbled into the Delphi discussion, do you not feel like an Alice after she stepped through the looking glass and has been confronted by an entire world that cannot seem to think straight and whose version of logic is completely at odds with your own? Do you not feel like you're having conversations with the Cheshire Cat? With the Mad Hatter? Are you not disoriented by what passes for thinking in this YouTube community and others like it? Sometimes all it takes is for someone to finally get something, is for it to be expressed in a certain way or from a certain angle. When I think back to points in my life where I finally got something, very often, that's what happened. It was expressed or presented in just the right way for it to gain traction in my mind. And that's the reason my posts carry the same general themes over and over again, but approach those themes from slightly different angles and drawing often from slightly different source material. People learn differently and they understand things differently. I guarantee that the lifers of this case who've been following from day one, the ones who have been at it the longest, will be the last ones to accept the argument that I make in my posts. Their egos will never survive it. And this is the Mandarin effect. And this is the reason that knowledge advances at one funeral at a time. Obviously, there are people who are very invested in not understanding these arguments. And it should be obvious to anybody lurking by now who these people are. Remember that the point of debate is not to convince your opponent, which isn't possible anyway. It's to convince the audience. And the lurkers are the audience. The people who post in subreddits on Facebook or on YouTube are the pugilists, the combatants. And we are slugging it out for the benefit of an audience who lurk and read the subreddits or watch the YouTube videos. This is the court of public opinion, and they are its judges. There are people who fail completely at making the distinction between major points and minor ones, and this failure is usually driven by bad faith. It's not accidental. An analogy would be a person who pulls a stray thread off of your clothing and then acts as though you are now completely naked. They scratch the paint and act like they've demolished the walls. You'll know these types of people when you see them, and you will see them soon. I am once again going to address the notion that law enforcement doesn't know who the young bridge guy sketch is. And I'll do that by riffing off of Lewis Carroll's passage from Alice in Wonderland and show that in order to entertain that notion, we are expected to believe 6 impossible things. That law enforcement would have a sketch of an unknown man spotted at the scene of a double homicide and not ask the public for help identifying him. Number 2, that law enforcement would shift gears and release a sketch that looks exactly like a witness without being aware that it looks exactly like a witness. That law enforcement would make no effort to clarify or explain why they released a sketch that looks exactly like a witness without good reason not to. Number 4, that law enforcement would broadcast that the sketch that looks exactly like a witness is responsible for the murders without being absolutely certain of it. Number 5, that law enforcement would broadcast that all they need is for someone to recognize the body of the man on the bridge without having reason to believe that was true. That nobody had collected the $325,000 reward for positively identifying young bridge guy, despite the thousands upon thousands of tips that law enforcement received in April of 2019. Just in case there is any doubt about when law enforcement first obtained the young bridge guy sketch, the sketch was released on Monday, was drawn by Bryant on February 17th, 2017, a few days after the victims' bodies were found. This picture was based on the description of a person who saw something that the person felt needed to be reported, according to Officer Bryant. And that is a story from the Indiana Star, and I will post that in the description box below. So, regarding impossible thing number 1, that law enforcement would have a sketch of an unknown man spotted at the scene of a double homicide and not ask the public for help identifying him. He is not an unknown man. It's just that simple. They don't need help identifying him. He may have identified himself when he arrived at the police station and declared himself to be a witness, or he was just a witness. Remember that on February 15th, 2017, just 2 days after the murders, police released the grainy photograph taken from Libby's phone and asked the public for help identifying the man in it. They had young bridge guy's sketch 2 days after that, but they didn't release it. That means that the reason for not releasing the sketch was likely supplied to them between February 15th and February 17th. They released the grainy photo, but not the sketch. Police in Indiana released a grainy picture of a man walking near to where two 13-year-old girls were found dead after hiking and asked for help in identifying him. That was a headline in the Indiana newspaper. Police appealed for the public's help late on Wednesday to identify a man that were seeking in connection with the double homicide of two teenage girls in Indiana. The man dressed in jeans, a dark blue jacket, a hat, was seen in the same area of the Delphi Historic Trails on Monday around the time that Abigail Williams, age 13, and Liberty German, 14, were walking. Police shared images of the individual with his head lowered and his hands in his pockets along a stretch of exposed wooden bridge. But police did not describe him as a suspect. Police released an update which read, "We are asking for help from the public to help identify him so he can be contacted regarding what he might have seen." And News 11 Alive article says something similar, though a curious pair of words appears in the body of that article. Indiana police are asking for the public's help identifying a man captured by a trail camera near the site where the bodies of 13-year-olds Libby German and Abigail Williams were found earlier this week. This was later corrected to clarify that the image was captured from Libby's phone, but use of the words trail camera in an article published on February 16th, 2017 may be the source of the rumors of trail cameras that pop up occasionally. So it's not like they don't know how to release an image and ask for public's help. It's just that they believe they had no need to on or around February 17th. Remember the words, "We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you." Regarding impossible thing number 2, that law enforcement would shift gears and release a sketch that looks exactly like a witness without being aware that it looks exactly like a witness. As it turns out, we have a user on this subreddit who was actually friends with Bitter Beat Poet in real life. And I believe he was the one who disclosed certain things to this subreddit. He also lives in the area and knows some of the people in the story firsthand. Bitter Beat Poet actually had a heart attack following a bicycle ride, and he is no longer with us. And this is what this person said. "I'm just east next to Delphi. I live 20 minutes away. I have been vetted, and people know why I know. I'm not even friends with Gray Hughes, but we talked after I got this information, and he's watched some of it come true, and he's asked me to come on his show. I didn't want to, but now instead of multiple back and forths with good people who want factual information, I can refer them to that particular show. I actually was asked by one of the moms who recognized my last name because she knew I had family members in a position to know. It must be made clear that this user has never once endorsed any POI theory, but his posts are a goldmine of interesting information. I seriously encourage all of you to read them. He definitely raises interesting points, and this user is going to address a few of them individually Here are a few selected comments. I don't do the POI thing because I don't know who was there that afternoon, but anyone that was is fair game for discussion, in my opinion. The question people should be asking is, why would law enforcement release a sketch that looks like one of their witnesses that they talked to 2 or 3 times? I'd just like to know why they would release a sketch so similar to someone that was there, and they surely have to know that there was a resemblance. I try to be objective, but when I saw those pictures of him, that was hard to ignore. I would love to ask Cheyenne if she remembers what the arguing couple were wearing. She could probably clear this whole thing up if she knows. Is there a possibility that law enforcement doesn't even realize that their sketch matches one of their witnesses? If law enforcement thinks the sketch is good enough for the public to identify the killer, then how the heck do they themselves not realize that it looks like someone that they might have talked to 2 or 3 times? If he was just mistaken for Bridge Guy, wouldn't they have cleared that up with the person that helped them draw the young sketch? Crazy. Okay, let's see. Regarding impossible thing number 3, that law enforcement would make no effort to clarify or explain why they released a sketch that looks exactly like a witness without good reason. The closest they've come to addressing this uncanny likeness to a witness is to implore the public not to post side-by-sides. But this is only out of concern for the integrity of the investigation, not out of concern that the sketch resembles a witness. This question actually appears to be off limits for journalists in the mainstream. A simple question that combines 2 statements such as, "We likely have interviewed you," and "Is the person responsible for the murders?" Either hasn't occurred to journalists or has been declared off limits for them to ask. Does this sketch resemble anyone you have interviewed in the past, or is this a sketch of someone you once thought was a witness? Would be questions I'd like to see asked to law enforcement. Not that we can expect to see any of that anytime soon, since there's now a total media blackout. Regarding impossible thing number 4, that law enforcement would broadcast that the man depicted in a sketch that looks exactly like a witness is responsible for the murders without being absolutely certain of it. He doesn't say may be responsible for these murders. What Doug Carter says, it is the person responsible for these murders. There is no ambiguity here. This is the person. Again, to do that without certainty would be criminally irresponsible and therefore impossible to believe. It's almost like they were baiting him. It's almost like they were inviting him or something. Regarding impossible thing number 5, that law enforcement would broadcast that all they need is for someone to recognize the body of the man on the bridge without having reason to believe that was true. The sketch released on April 22nd, 2019 is representative of the face of the person captured in the video on Liberty German's cell phone as he was walking on the high bridge. That has been reported in the Indy Star as well as police bulletins on the FBI's website. And I will put those links in the description box below. Remember that removing the word representative from that sentence is the final piece that law enforcement is waiting on, according to Doug Carter in his May 16th, 2019 interview with Wish TV. There's also no way that Doug Carter could, in good conscience, raise the hopes of the family and the community by saying that's all they need to solve this, unless he believed it were absolutely true. Law enforcement cannot afford another credibility hit like the one they took on April 22nd, 2019, when they all but admitted that they had been chasing ghosts for 2 years. They cannot afford to take another hit like that. That's why this is impossible thing number 5. There's no way he would have said that unless it were true. Somebody knows whose body that is. Somebody knows. If you take the head off of a person that you know, you're going to recognize the body, whether that be your dad, your brother, your uncle, your friend, your neighbor, your coworker. That's the piece we are waiting on. They're willing to say that young bridge guy is the person responsible for the murders, but they're only willing to say that young bridge guy's sketch is representative of the face of the person captured in Libby's video. They need to be able to say that young bridge guy's sketch is responsible for the murders and is the man on the bridge. And then it's a chemical cocktail for bridge guy. Indiana is still a death penalty state. I'm actually surprised that this is the last thing they need. I'm also kind of surprised that someone recognizing the mannerisms of this man on the bridge is something that would be considered valid evidence. That's kind of subjective, right? But anyway, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to show that they know who young bridge guy is, not that they can convict him. Regarding impossible thing number 6, that nobody has collected the $325,000 reward for positively identifying young bridge guy, despite the thousands of tips law enforcement has received since April 22nd of 2019. Every male under 40 within a 100-mile radius of Delphi has no doubt been the subject of a tip called into police. I guarantee that among the 4,000 tips they received, the correct identity of young bridge guy was included among them. Why has the reward money not been issued? Is it because this mystery man continues to elude everyone and none of the 4,000 tips were correct? Or is it more likely that the identity of young bridge guy is not the piece of information that's going to lead you to the reward? Doug Carter has told us what is needed. The piece they're waiting on is for someone to recognize the body and mannerisms of the man on the bridge, not the identity of young bridge guy's sketch. The conclusion that law enforcement knows the identity of young bridge guy is actually a simple and obvious one, if you just know how to see it. When Doug Carter mentions the piece they're waiting on, he doesn't say that piece is the identity of young bridge guy sketch. He says the missing piece is for someone to recognize the body and mannerisms of the man on the bridge. If the missing piece was the identity of young bridge guy and the sketch, that's what Doug Carter would have said. Not only is it very likely that law enforcement knows who young bridge guy is, it's actually impossible at this point to believe that they don't. So this post, when I found it, was a lot. And I realized that this particular person, for whatever reason, believes that one of the witnesses is probably responsible. And that was a year ago. And hopefully that person has come to their senses. Because with everything that we know, I think that there's a lot of layers to this. But what I found was interesting is how they dissected and came about the sketch itself, and the fact that they weren't looking for the face. They know who he is. They need the body. And so they're trying to, that's what makes me believe there's more than one person here. We're dealing with more than one person in this crime. I could be wrong, but that is my opinion. And I just found it kind of fascinating. So let's go back here and see all that I've missed while I was talking so much. Let's see. Thank you, Michelle. I do try to do my homework. I read a lot. I look up a lot. So I'm going to just say this. Elijah, that is not fact. That is a rumor. And I'm glad that you said it as allegedly confessed, because that is not fact. That is a rumor that was said. So take it all with a grain of salt. Let's see. There's nothing to believe. We know there's nothing to believe about the younger guy's sketch, Deborah. Excuse me. It's documented that sketch, they've interviewed the sketch artist. He said when he drew it. So yes, they did have it. They had it on the 17th of February. So, but yes. Let's see. Let's see. Molly, I will put the Reddit post in the description below. I will link all of my sources and you'll be able to find it. So you can go read the post yourself. The person who posted it was Chivalry 6969, and it was originally posted by Vespasian. So that's the Redditors. But yeah, I will link it down below. Yeah, I mentioned Epstein for a very good reason, because things happen to people in jail that are incarcerated. And I'm just here to say, if he has information and if he is not responsible for this crime, but he has information on who is or who was or who participated or whatever it might be, he could be targeted. And it would be a bad thing if something happened to him before this case was able to be brought to a court of law. It's important that we are trying to protect the case and everything. It's just that simple. Yes. Do we think that he is guilty of some really horrific things? It appears to be so. But again, I'm going to remind everyone that people are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law by their peers. In this country, that is how justice works. And you would not want it to be any other way if it was you that was convicted of a crime. No matter how horrendous that crime may be, you would still want to have the same considerations. So let's just remember that when we're talking about these cases. Um, I don't know anything about that. So let's see. Yeah, I think that person was talking about DP. That's why I said I hope they've changed their tune on that. But I liked the idea of believing the impossible and how they broke down when this sketch was done and why this sketch was not released in the very beginning. There has to be a reason why law enforcement refused to release that sketch. And I do think it's very important. So, let's see. There's more than one. There's a few people around this case that have passed away that had knowledge of certain things. It might prove to affect things, but um, we'll have to wait and see. Let's see. I definitely believe they have DNA. I believe they have only enough DNA to rule people out. They do not have enough DNA to rule people in. But I do think they have enough markers to rule people out. I firmly believe this too, Cherry Sprinkle, that ISP has known for a very long time who it was they were looking at. Most definitely. I also think that they have probably had number of individuals surveillance or under surveillance. And I guarantee you that there's a lot more going on. I believe that they are finding more and more individuals that are related to the CSAM case. They just had one this week in Delphi, in Carroll County, that was arrested, that is caught up in the CSAM mess. So that was on my case just this week. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, bye, Jennifer. Have a good evening. And Honeybee, you are so right. What law enforcement is saying to the public and what law enforcement is trying to say or send to the POI or whoever it is makes this case very frustrating. You are correct, because they have depending on what law enforcement officer you're speaking to, they've all said different things. They've come back and corrected, or not even corrected, but just said different things on the DNA. They've said different things on evidence. Some say there's a lot. Some say there's not very much. It's just who you're talking to. And it can be very, very frustrating. One of the things that I was talking about in my last live is communication. Communication is where everything lies. If you don't have good communication and good transparency in these cases, you lose public confidence. You lose the confidence in the constituency, whoever it is, when you're trying to get them to understand a point or to trust you and to trust what you're putting out there. I believe if I would say anything about law enforcement in this case, looking back on hindsight, would be that their communication has been very poor in this case. I do not believe that they have communicated well with the public, nor do I feel that they've been very good communicators probably with the family, because I firmly believe they're probably not sharing anything with them either. And I've said this before, that this is not anything new with the state of Indiana and how they handle cases. It doesn't matter what case we're talking about. This is how Indiana handles everything. They keep everything locked down and tight, and they don't talk about it. They won't discuss it. And that's how they get away with not having transparency on what is going on behind the scenes. That's why there's corruption in a lot of these counties that we're talking about, because there's nobody keeping an eye on what the heck's going on. And it's the old adage, if you let the fox guard the hen house, you're going to have a problem. And, I just pray and hope that the people of Carroll County are listening and they elect the right person for the new sheriff's job, because there needs to be a new sheriff in Dodge, and there needs to be change in that county. And I do believe that that will help a lot of things that are going on in that area, and especially with a lot of the unsolved crime that they have, where it's just not going anywhere. I just firmly believe that. So let's see. I'm still going over. Sherry, there is so much to speculate about in this case, and all the maybes. And we could speculate forever. A lot of people have speculated till the clock, for whatever. I try to keep the speculation within parameters, because I don't think it does anybody any good to go way off the rails. But there's nothing wrong with talking about what we think versus what we know. There's many different scenarios that could be played out here. We don't know. There's a lot of different things that could be going on. And I know Doug Carter has told us this is a complicated case. It's complicated. And he told us in February, he cannot wait until the day he can look at us and tell us why he did and why they did everything they did in this case, and explain it all to us. Yes, John, I do. Absolutely believe that. How could he not? Paying attention to what's going on out there, the stuff that's been leaked, the stuff that's being talked about all over the place. I definitely believe that this guy is not as technically illiterate as people would like to make you think he might be. I believe this individual is a lot smarter than we give them credit for. He was very organized. He went out there with a plan that day. He executed it in broad daylight without a care in the world of being seen or caught. And so, yeah, I believe this guy to me, he's one of the most dangerous types of criminals that are out there because of that behavior. Um, I think that the closer they get to him, the more chance it is for him to flee or to try to do something. And that's why I believe that whoever this person or persons are, they're watching. Law enforcement knows. They have them. They're watching them. Guaranteed. I think that I go back to when Doug Carter was talking after the Anthony Shots information was released to the public, and he said persistent pressure pays off. You guys remember when he said that? Stop and think of who he would be talking about in that regard. What's the persistent pressure that law enforcement would be placing on who? What's that persistent pressure? Who's getting that persistent pressure? And he said it was paying off. I think it's paid off big time. And I think that we have a lot to be grateful for in that respect. And I know there's been a lot of talk over the last 5.5 years about how law enforcement doesn't know their backside from a hole in the ground. But I want to say here tonight that there is not a doubt in my mind that these men and women who have been working on this case want justice for Abby and Libby. You would have to be a cold-hearted SOB to not want justice for those two little girls and what that scene must have been like when they walked upon it and saw it in those woods. And it's just like we said before in the last few live streams that I've done about trolls. Who comes in and trolls a show or a podcast or whatever you want to call it, where the discussion of the murder and horrific murder of two little girls or four little girls, if it's Flora, is being discussed? Who does that? What kind of individuals are those people? It really says a lot about them, in my opinion. And, we just have to be diligent, continue to keep going forward, pressing forward, and keep the case out there, keep talking about it. I'm hopeful that whoever put out the rumor that there's going to be an announcement of some sort by law enforcement tomorrow, I hope that that's true. I hate saying it if it's not, because I can only imagine, and really I can't really even imagine what the families are doing tonight and where they've been with all this for the last 5 weeks, because they can't get away from it. And it's with them every day. They want this far more than any of us do. And to get your hopes up so high to have them dashed or let down would be horrible. Just horrible. Let's see. What is that? What? Ladybug said there is an FBI road search going on right now via Reddit 30 to 40 minutes ago. Where at? Where's the road search? Did they stop traffic? Is that what you're saying? And that they're doing, or are they searching the road, along the road? What are we talking about here? I haven't seen anything. Let me look. Let me check Reddit and see if there's anything about that, because I haven't seen anything about that. I haven't gotten any updates, and I usually get my moderators from my subreddit usually are good about letting me know anything new that's on Reddit. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Ladybug. What is this? Peru. So Ladybug posted this morning that there was a calm at the Wabash River, not a soul in sight, and they're now patiently waiting for a press release. That's what she said. Let's see. Somebody posted this 46 minutes ago. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see it. Remember, we have to take all of this stuff with a grain of salt. But this was posted 46 minutes ago. I posted this on August 31st, but the mod deleted it. Here is what I've been told. Kagan is the man on the bridge. It was already known by law enforcement, but he has now confessed. Kagan claims he took the girls to Tony, who was waiting at the kill site. There is more audio, but it hasn't been released because prosecution believes it will taint a jury, and it is not admissible because of editing. Law enforcement circled back to Kagan in 2021 with new eyes on the case after previously dismissing his involvement twice. Law enforcement believed Kagan was the murderer, but now believe Tony is the responsible person. Kagan says he went to the car and waited at the CPS building. Kagan says Tony discarded the knife out of the car window into the Wabash on the way home and burned his clothes in a barrel in the back of the yard. Kagan says he does not know what happened to the gun he used to control the girls because it was Tony's. Kagan's attorney is using cooperation to try to negotiate a lighter sentence for the CSAM and will not face charges in this case if he is telling the truth. The search of the river is not complete, and they will be back on Monday, if not earlier. I think of anything else, I'll add it later. That was posted back on August 31st in Reddit. And somebody just reposted the comment 46 minutes ago. So you can see how all of this goes. I mean, I have no idea if any of what this person has posted is true or not, but you can see how this stuff gets, do you guys honestly think that this is something that should have been posted out there? I mean, that's my point. It's just, like I said, you just have to take everything in, and then you have to be like, wait a minute now. So yeah, this is stuff that's off of Reddit, you guys. There's all kinds of stuff on Reddit. People talk about this case over there just like we talk about it over here. But yeah, this is in the Libby and Abby sub. And like I said, I will reference all of this down below. You guys are free to go over there anytime and check this stuff out. I always check out the Reddit stuff because I have my own subreddit on Delphi, Delphi's Daughters. So I am always checking out Reddit. And I have, hey Fig, how are you doing? How are things? But yeah, we have to just remember that we don't have all of the inside information. People can post and say a lot of stuff. So, take it with a grain of salt. Everything is, law enforcement has never told us anything. And we just talked about that. They're not going to. Fig, how are you? It's so good to see you here. But like I said, you guys, and I've been saying this now for quite a while, go back to the beginning. Start looking at things in a different way. We know some things now that we didn't know then. Things are starting to add up. There is movement. This search that happened is not a training exercise. So I just I don't know. I'm excited. I think that we're going to see something soon. And I appreciate and really, really I'm glad that you guys understand where my passion comes from. Exactly, Double Rainbows. Just watch Perry's video about trusting the system. We have to trust the system, trust the process. We have to trust it and know that they know more than we do. They know why they're doing what they're doing. They have reason for everything. They're not going to spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've spent for the last 5 weeks in that river and along that shoreline for no reason. And certainly not in training. They have their own training facility. If they needed to do water training or diving training, the ISP has their own location for that. They're not going to do it in the Wabash River. So thank you, Heaven 57. Thank you so much. Like I said, I'm always pretty forthright in telling you when it is my opinion and when it's not, when we're talking about facts. It's important that we always maintain that and that we always talk about things in that regard. And I don't want people to stop talking about the case. I don't want people to stop putting it out there. I want us to cover it. I just want us to cover it in a much more professional and a thoughtful way, so that we do not risk hurting this case. It's I can't say it loud enough, and I can't scream it loud enough to everyone. Integrity is where it's at, and you gotta keep it. And I hope that excuse me. Oh, thank you, Rosewood. You're so kind. I try. I'm not perfect. I agree with you, Avondale Mama. I hope law enforcement comes in and slaps them too, because it's wrong. It's very wrong. And there may be a lot of that after this is all said and done. There may be people who end up in trouble. So I no, Heather, I'm fine. I have asthma, and when I talk for so long like this, my throat gets dry and I cough. So, but no, I'm fine. I don't have COVID. Dave, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, Double Rainbows, I'm so glad you're here. I am. And yes, Cherry, I'm sorry. You are so wrong. We all have theory, or so right. I'm sorry. We all have theories, and it's okay to talk about them as theories. But when you say it as a source has told me, is when it becomes damaging to the case. Yes. And it's also, to me, another thing. It's, again, I think maybe it was Fig or maybe it was Gonzo that said it earlier. I think it was Gonzo when he was in here, when he was talking about egos. A lot of times, and sadly, these cases become wrapped around a lot of egos, not just in law enforcement, but in people who are covering the cases. And they can't get past their own ego. And like I said, of wanting to either be the hero, be the first one to put out the information. You know, I don't care if I'm first. I don't care if I'm right. I just want justice. I want justice, and I want bridge guy or bridge guys caught and put away. I am all about that. I don't have to be right in how I think this happened. I don't have to be right in who I think did it. I don't have to be right. I just don't. And that's just not important to me. That is not at all what this case is about or should be about. It should be about wanting the truth to come out and wanting the right people prosecuted for the case. And working together as a team is right, because together everyone achieves more. Teamwork, right? Team, TEAM. Together everyone achieves more. And that's one of the things that I love about some of my YouTube fellow creators. It's so, we all feel like the same. You know, it's so good to have those camaraderies and those friendships where you know that they're covering the cases for the right reasons. And Fig's right. Anyone who has a POI makes it about them and not the case. Our opinions about what's going on don't matter. Ethics, integrity, and honesty matter. And I've told you guys before, I'm going to change my banner because this was my mantra for so very long. Hold on a second. I want to stop this banner. Hold on a minute. And I'll start this one up. Because how we choose to tell their stories, you guys, matters. And let that sink in. How we choose to tell the story of Abby and Libby matters. It's so important for us to always remember that these are real people. And real people are suffering and hurting every single time we talk about this. And my heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to Kelsey. My heart goes out to all of them. Every single family member that are missing those girls every single day when they don't come to dinner. When that chair at the dinner table is empty. When they don't come busting through the door with news about what's going on in college today. Those things are what matter. Those things are real. That's the realism behind this case. Fig says, I think if you have a POI, you should make videos on why they are innocent for every video you make on why they are guilty. I completely agree. One of the disservices to the Delphi case, in my opinion, has been over the last 5.5 years, all the POIs that have been put out there in the airwaves. Oh, no kidding. Avondale Mama, this case is certainly going to be solved. It is going to be solved. And I do pray that tomorrow is the day, Jen. I certainly do pray that tomorrow is the day. And Fig is a speaker of many truths. We need to listen to him. He's very smart, very caring. He has, for those of you who aren't familiar, please go watch my video about Fig and his cousin Tristan, because I covered his cousin Tristan's murder here on YouTube with him. And Fig knows what it's like to be a family member in the midst of all this nightmare. So listen to him, because Fig has the objectivity of both sides. He can see it from wanting to know and the investigative side, as well as being the family side. He understands both. And that's why his opinions and thoughts are so important to me and always will be. He is Double Rainbows True Crime Maria just dropped it in chat, Fig's channel. And he will also be on my description box below. Fig's channel will also be there. And they do SD. They live a trauma that none of us know about unless you've actually had something like that in your family or your life. Unless you've gone through someone that you love being murdered, you have no idea what that trauma is like. None. You can't even begin to understand or fathom it. And so, hell, you and me too, John. I'm POI-less too. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay to remain that way. It's okay. Danita, you might want to go back and watch the beginning of this when I post it, because I kind of railed on him a little bit on Murder Sheet. I am very angry with them, extremely upset by what they put out today. You better, my dear. I want you to definitely be here so we can celebrate. That will be amazing. That will be amazing. We'll have much to discuss, I know, for sure. And Perry, the same with you, my dear. Standing invitation for you to be here on my live once this breaks, so that we can talk about it. I think we'll all want to talk about it. Cherry says, It's why I love Kelsey's posts about Liberty, because she tells us things like what she liked to do, who she was, and makes it about her life, not about the case. And that is important. It's very true. Kelsey has so many stories about Libby and about her relationship with Libby and how close they were. And it is important because we do forget that these were two young girls who had their whole life ahead of them, and they had plans, and they were living their teenage girl lives, and it was just suddenly just wiped out by some evil that none of us can even comprehend. Yes, he sure is, Alicia. You are so right. He sure is. It's really important to choose where you get your information from wisely. So, and I do hope that we get to celebrate soon, you guys. The celebration is coming. Yes, Michelle, it is certainly coming. And he does. Perry keeps us on the right track. He reminds us how important this case is and how important what we say about it and around it is. So I'm glad that he does that. So, oh yeah, we definitely do, Cheryl. We definitely need Perry on again. Can't get enough of him. He's great. I've been told that, Rosewood, that I should write a book about this case. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll collab with somebody on a book. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be a lot written about it. I definitely believe that. I love taking questions I have to Perry, because he's always so open to them, and he's just welcoming and kind. And I love that about him. And the same with Steve. Steve from True Crime Web, if you're still here, you're the same. I love you both. Oh, tattooed girl, that's too bad. That's terrible. I hope that's a good sign, though. I hope that is a good sign. You are absolutely right. She said she would wear her bracelet until Bridge Guy was caught. And the other day, her dog jumped up on her and broke it. So that tells her it'll be soon. That is great. So, I've loved it tonight, you guys. We've been on here now for 2 hours. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to do a drawing. Give me a minute to get my my giveaway tool pulled up. Just give me a minute here. Whoops. And tonight we're going to use hashtag times up. So this is what it's going to be, you guys. I'll put it in chat. Hashtag times up. And that'll be the drawing for I'm going to give away 2 Delphi bracelets tonight. The wristbands. So if you want to enter, please put in times up. Sharon Parker, I'm glad you're here. Will you do me a favor, please, and email me? I have something I want to ask you. I would appreciate it, my dear. Thank you. If you yay. And You guys, if you win, you have to email me your information and I'll get it sent out to you right away. And I thank everybody for being here. Really, truly. I am so happy to see all the new people. And make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. I've got 17 of you so far. So there was a lot of people in here watching at one point. I think I had like 205. So, good night, Freckle Joy. Thank you for hanging with us. I appreciate it. Thanks, Esty. Time's up. The time's up. I definitely think it is. Yes, digital. It has to be typed exactly the way I did it. It has to be a capital T, Hanali. A capital T. It has to be exactly like that. So make sure you go back in and do it again if you didn't. It has to look exactly the way I posted it. And it's, I'll do it again. There you go. There you go. No space. Yep, no space. I hope everybody has a good weekend, a good start to their weekend anyway. Tomorrow, I hope we get good news tomorrow, you guys. I really do. Wouldn't it be a great weekend? Awesome, you guys. Hey, Kelly Murray, Diana Blake, welcome to you guys. All right, everybody in the drawing that wants to be in the drawing, I'm going to go ahead and draw for the first one. Again, I don't do the drawing live because of trolls. So give me a minute and then I'll share it with you. Here we go. Okay, our first winner of the first bracelet is Danita McCord. Congratulations, Danita. So just email me. Hold on a second and I will put in, there's the email coming up for you guys. And Nightbot should put it up here. Way to go. Thanks, Michelle. Good night. And there's my email. Okay, so I'm going to do one more drawing, guys. One more drawing. And the winner for this one is Bean. So Bean is the winner for this one. So congratulations, Danita, and congratulations, Bean. Make sure you email me your information and I'll get those sent out to you. And Fig, if you're still in here, email me your information and I'm going to send you a Flora bracelet as well as a Delphi one. Just email me your information, hun. And you guys, I have really enjoyed being here with you tonight. I hope that you guys have a good evening, get some rest and some sleep. And if something happens tomorrow, I will be here live. I will come on live. So make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell for all so that you get notifications when I do go live. Okay. And I hope to see you guys all on Saturday night and that we have some really good news. And we'll see what happens. Everyone have a good night. Be safe. Be kind to one another. And please pay it forward. Good night, you guys.